Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. And this is not old news, but it's a couple of days old. I've had live streams. What can I say? Hasbro is putting up key parts of eOne up for sale, but it's holding on to Peppa Pig. What does that mean? Well, it means that they bought out eOne, which is a TV movie producer, distributor. Um, I guess a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, they paid nearly $4 billion for it, and they integrated their own uh, properties into it, at least for uh, film and TV making, like Peppa Pig, Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers. Um, well, they're unloading it now, and they say that there was interest in the last announcement meeting stock report for people to. I'm not sure if it's going to be sold in whole or picked to pieces. eOne apparently has a non-Hasbro branded film and scripted TV business. The Woman King, which was recently released in theaters, Yellow Jackets, the Rookie franchise. Was it Nathan Fillion? I think I watched the first season. It wasn't bad. I just stopped watching commercial TV, so go figure that one out. Naked and Afraid apparently is also under it, but it's not going to include the sale of, I guess, rights to Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers, Peppa Pig, Magic the Gathering. All these, if there are going to be uh, produced, would I don't know if there's going to be a division that will still be producing this, or if it's just going to be licensed. Who knows? Interesting, though. Interesting times. So this is a company that has taken a huge stock loss this year, has shot itself in the foot with the Magic the Gathering $999 box set of ultra rare, limited 4 booster packs of cards you can't use in a tournament play anyway, and is there to kill the aftermarket, but it's there to make a quick buck for the company. It's interesting, right? Why is 5e being rebooted? It's being rebooted because the company's going to definitely need a cash infusion after the pandemic has ceased boosting the numbers for D&D players. I don't think there's been an OR report in a while. I'm sure the OR report would show less gamers than there were during the height of the pandemic. Same thing with the Fantasy Grounds report. I got to do a little digging into those. I'm just thinking about that because those numbers tell us what's going on, and are they picture perfect? Are they spot on? No, but they show you a trend. Like I said before, I spent a number of years in my employment as a police officer and a sergeant doing statistics. Okay, and what you're looking for in statistics is you're looking for trends. You're looking for patterns, and if we're looking at this, we're looking at the evidence of a company selling off a division that only picked up 3.8 years ago. And yes, Chris Cox came in. He's a different person than his predecessor. He's got different interests. He sees a different view for the company. He also sees a company that's probably has low cash reserves and needs an influx of cash. Get rid of a division that doesn't necessarily fit in with your plans perfectly. Does it make sense? Now, what I find interesting is that there's this whole thread on Enworld debunking the rumors that there will be no SRD and OGL for One D&D. Like I said, my sources have connections to Wizards of the Coast. I have spoken with a couple of third-party publishers who have heard these rumors firsthand, again, from individuals that are connected to, not part of Wizards of the Coast. And they are concerned. They don't believe that this is necessarily set in stone yet, but people I've talked to, there's a general consensus that the idea going forward is that they want D&D to generate money as a subscription service, just like Microsoft does, right? Interesting. New head to Wizards of the Coast come from Microsoft. They're used to subscription services. They're used to probably bundling stuff. We've already seen the retail aspect at Wizards of the Coast go toward bundling. Why? Because digital content doesn't cost that much extra, but it can be a value, and that value can obviously increase the price you sell something to a consumer. And cut out the middleman, which I don't see anybody talking about in Enworld about how the your local friendly game store is going to take a huge hit when Woods of the Coast wants to become their own distributor directly to the consumer. All right. That's going to be a huge shock. Now, the disagreement that I hear of uh, I suspect that they're going to use something like D&D Beyond to integrate the DMs Guild, or just buy the DMs Guild, and use the DMs Guild as an evergreen source of publishing third-party product where they always get money from. They're not getting money from third-party product right now. And I know I looked at the thread, and there are gamers that are like, but that would be shooting yourself in the foot. They did that at the beginning of 5e, right? 4e was created to do away with the OGL. 5e had no OGL for 15 months. Nobody mentions that in the thread. Why did we get the OGL back? Why was there an SRD put out? Because the community, the gamers, the people who are the consumers pushed for it. If you don't think that they're going to make that same attempt to hold that back so they can get a bigger share of the 5e monies, because a lot of those monies are going to third-party publishers right now, they're going to want One D&D to have that greater share. You don't understand how businesses work. And they're not making decisions as gamers, right? These people aren't there to make the game great. They're there to make money for their company. They're there to make money for their stockholders. And how do you make money for your stockholders? Well, we bring this all in-house. So the dispute I have of opinion is I believe that there will be a licensing agreement where third-party publishers can publish under the DMs Guild. I've spoken with publishers, third-party publishers, significant in the hobby, and many of them feel that what we're looking at is the reaction to Wizards of the Coast having product that sucks right now. That third-party publishers are putting out better product for 5e than Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards of the Coast wants to knock out the competition. Now, I don't see it that way, but then again, I'm not a third-party publisher. So that's what their fear is. Now, me, as an old school gamer, and you're going, why do you care what happens to 5e? Because the companies that I really enjoy the content of all publish for 5e and publish for the OSR because they happen to be gamers. But 5e makes the money, 5e pays the bills, let's be honest. And if you cut off One D&D, because gamers always go to the newest and latest, at least a large over half of your 5e players, if they're going to be like, oh, we got to go to One D&D. If you cut those third-party publishers, the larger tier of third-party publishers out of publishing for D&D, then I believe that old school content will suffer too. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. All right. And again, nothing is set in stone. But please remember, we got the 4E to do away with the OGL. We got the game system license, which you had to pay thousands of dollars to get approved to write for 4E. We got 5E. They didn't want to give us an OGL. We didn't get one for 15 months. Why is that? Likely because they wanted to cement themselves as the premier content creators for 5e. And then they saw they weren't able to produce enough content, and then the OGL came out so third-party publishers could get into the game. One D&D is going to be backwards compatible. They said that. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you can write for One D&D. You can run under the old OGL, but maybe it's going to be different rules that are going to be under One D&D that you can't use. And again, people are going to want to play the rules that are the most common, the most modern. The ones that are going to be updated constantly on D&D Beyond to the point where it's going to be like 1984. You're going to see a totally new description for something and go, that wasn't what it was. And they'll be told, well, it is what it is, and this is what it is. But what was it? Oh, we don't know. We can't tell you because it no longer is. It's going to be constantly revised. Your physical books are going to be obsolete, I would guess, within 6 months after that system gets launched because they'll be making that many changes to tweak it. Or not obsolete, but maybe not necessarily Adventures League legal. Again, I'm not going to name my sources because I want to keep my sources. I'm sure there are some intrepid investigators out there that could probably draw some conclusions as to who some of my sources might be. And might be right, probably going to be missing a lot of the other ones. But to think that the OGL is going to be a given for One D&D, it doesn't. You can't revoke it, right? It still applies to everything you already own. It still applies to everything that's already been published. But if you think it's going to apply to One D&D out of the gate, I think you're sadly mistaken. So, folks, on that note, we're still in the midst of the what? The endemic. So I can ask you to use your common sense. It's not going away. Be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice, roll them well. I will be back again tomorrow with more random news, gaming stuff. Oh, and by the way, so I guess the next thing I will be reviewing on my weekend reviews. It's a heavy box. Just got it today. Can you read it? Maybe not. Blade Runner. This is the starter set. It's heavy. It's got heft. So I just got this delivered today on a Sunday of all this. And I will be giving this a read over next week. And hopefully a review next Sunday. All right, folks. On that note, laters. Oh, and don't forget the Substack newsletter, Tenkar's Tavern at Substack.com. Sign up. Why not?